Hello. Oh no. Stop. No echo. Hello. Sorry about that. Um, I'm speaking quietly because I don't know if I'm blowing your ears out. But the reason that echo just happened is because I was fiddling with stuff and I have this new interface thing. Yeah, the echo is gone, but how are the levels of my voice? Are they very quiet or very loud? Levels are good. What if I'm speaking normally? Levels are good, fine for me. Now I'm speaking kind of how I will be speaking. Yay! Okay, so thank you. Uh what I had previously, I replaced the microphone, have an XLR thing going on. It comboed with a thing that's like, hey, for free for no reason, we'll give you this thing that we call an interface. It's like a tiny, probably not great. I'm not super familiar with the technology. But I was like, I should upgrade. I found this thing on eBay that someone used once. Um, so I thought it'll probably be just more reliable. But I didn't want to like turn it on and then all of a sudden I'm blowing your ears out. So oddly quieter than your quiet version. Some of this might be the filters I have on OBS, like compressors and stuff, which were suited to, the previous setup. But if you can hear me okay, hopefully your desktop or mobile volumes can be adjusted for now, and I will continue to troubleshoot, but I don't want to overcorrect. Oh, it's good now? Okay. I wouldn't mess with it. You were leaning back to it. Yeah, that's the thing too, is I don't have the room, right? Like set up for audio. I don't have like the eggshell stuff. This is just my apartment. Basically, I mean, you can imagine New York City housing, right? Like my apartment is not much more than what you can see in this little box. So it's just kind of bouncing off these walls and stuff, and I lean back and forth, but hopefully it's doable. Normally when I'm painting, I disappear out of the screen, but that's about as far as I go. I should fix that too. I've done this show for how long? It's like 2.5, 3 years. Maybe you'd think that I would have a good setup. Now sitting naturally. Well, naturally is a loose term. If you catch me in the office, you see a number of goblin poses because I'm constantly telling myself, you got to make sure to have good posture when you're painting all day. But that quickly devolves into the golem precious pose. And then I got to be like, whoop, and that lasts for about 2 minutes, and then I slowly get closer to my project. This show can't be bad because it never got good, and that's coming from not only head of production, but my friend. So, thank you for joining me on the last ever Hamster's Hobby Hang. Record time, 14 minutes, including the pre-roll. It's been a great journey. Uh, and thanks for the memories. God, what a jerk! He said it on the air. He said it on the air. Tyler. Yeah, Tyler. He said the show sucks. Oh, hold on. I think the mic.
What?
Okay. I didn't expect you to play the bit. I am on and I was doing a bit as if you were here, but then you actually came out hearing the bit. It's a joke.
Tyler did not say the show sucked?
No, well, he did say it, but it was a joke, and then I was doing a bit as if I was talking to you, but then you heard me because it sounded like I was talking to you, and now you're here.
The question is, do I need to beat up Tyler?
No, you don't. Well, you probably need to beat up Tyler for other reasons, but not for this reason.
Oh, okay.
This is a made up joke reason. But I appreciate your support.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Suicious? You want to fight? Wait, I just got your Discord message. Are you trying to come on the air and vent your grievances against the hobby hang? What is a posture? I wish I could tell you. Even when I'm sitting, maybe in the frame, you can't really tell, but I'm actually like very much not posturized. Whenever a streamer gets a posture check, I look at my own and say, yep, not good, and just keep sitting the same way. You know, when you've been doing it for so long, it's just comfortable, right? I am home early today. Okay. So let's get him on here so he can say it to my face with my bastion of hobby hangers. Oh,
Bastion of hobby hangers.
yeah, you heard me. They're on my side, okay? Dude, that was like a grumble. That was like probably the most. That was the most like, you know, in like a comic when they write out like harumph. I feel like
Yes.
what you just said is what that is.
I can fully agree. That is exactly what that is.
All right.
I also love that you're like, they're on my side. It's like, but he's defended you yet?
That is true. It was mostly, I should have phrased it as a question. They're on my side?
I sure hope so.
Oh man. Except you're the only one who asked. Hey, also, I'm gonna crap on your show. Also, what are you working on today?
Yeah. I have multitudes.
Tyler, listen, if nothing else, Tyler contains multitudes. You can quote me on that.
Yeah.
But the 2 weeks ago, I think I forgot a miniature to paint, and so last time I brought home like 4. So I basically brought back all of the free blades that Chris got at PAX, or was it? It was Gen Con or PAX.
It was Gen Con.
Gen Con. Because I think he said they gave him to it. Like, he was talking to them because we've been playing it and collecting some of the stuff, and he was like, yeah, we've been like mainly like playing these factions, and they're like, oh, do you have these things? And just gave us like half a dozen minis, which is very nice. So
I thought he paid for them. I can't remember.
Maybe he did.
Either, so.
Well, I remember him saying they gave us the ones in our factions that we don't have, and I don't know if that was followed by that will be $39.95 or if it was have a great convention. You know what I mean? Or both. So
I think they did give us something. Like, I think they were like, oh, here, you know, you should be excited about this one. And then he was like, great, I'm already here to get these other ones. So it was like he got like a cool thing, and then was already wanting to purchase some stuff anyway.
Yeah.
I remember that morning too, because it was one of the first mornings, and we were going over there because we had like half an hour before the floor actually opened. So we were like, all right, let's run around and go to see the things that so we went and saw like BattleTech, and then we went and saw...
yeah, Chris really wants to play BattleTech. He actually got some Hexmat battle myths.
That's where he got them, was that day.
Okay.
Or rather, he made the plan to get them that day.
Sure. I remember last Adepticon BattleTech was there, and I was like, on my break, I'm going to go and see if they have any convention exclusives for Chris. And I walked up and I was like, do you have any like cool goodies? My friend plays BattleTech, and they were like, no. So then I went back. But they still had their cool stuff with their stuff, which is already cool. But I was like, all right, so I went on this quest to surprise Chris, and I came back with nothing. So now no one knows except for when I said it live on stream 2 years later.
Yeah.
4 whole miniatures? I know, I took them back. I don't have many miniatures at home anymore because I hid them in my desk. I mean, what? You weren't supposed to hear that.
You shouldn't have heard me.
No, I did consolidate a lot of stuff though. I took everything out of the package and put it into baggies so that it can go into drawers. Because you know when you hold on to stuff and it's in boxes and you're like, well, I have to leave it sealed in case I ever want to resell it or something. But then you hold on to it for like 4 or more years and you're like, I don't think I'm ever gonna go through the effort of selling it, or I probably would have done that already. So I just broke it all down. Don't have to worry about storing them at home. Smart. Yes, it is smart, but I am commandeering the space, so I need to consolidate further. But yes, I don't have room, much less even... I still have Dwarven Forge here, is what I have at home.
Oh, man, I gotta talk to you about that, yeah.
What?
Oh, just like a thought I've had on it.
Oh, yeah.
And a plan I've had. I gotta talk to you about it.
You should, yeah, because I'm kind of like, I like having it, but remember when we live in New York City?
Yeah.
So maybe I can form a couch out of the boxes or something.
I just got told that I have to. She was like, "Can you move the boxes for Witch Night?" And I was like, "Yes." You know, they're just still chilling in the living room right now. So
for a little context, this is at Tyler's apartment, with his partner, and she's like, "Okay, so we're having guests, so we need to remove the Dwarven Forge from just the middle of the area." Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
a reasonable request, but it's like, I like that I have this. Also, what do I do with it?
yeah, it makes a lot of sense because it's just like, so much of it has stayed in the box unpainted, so I'm just like,
oh yeah,
put a tablecloth over the boxes and it can be a side table.
There you go, for the guests. In fact, we just heard from one of the witches that will be present. I don't know if you could hear her on the mic, but
no.
I was doing the bit where I'm like, I've gone off the air, except I unknowingly left the mic unmuted, and I'm talking to someone off screen, and Katie heard that and was like, are you talking to me? My acting is so good, I'm classically trained, right? So I'm a thespian actor.
Yeah, would you say your method?
Oh god. No, I would actually decidedly say that I'm not, because I hate that.
What a travesty to the entire art form.
It's like, we could also just like be kind professionals and not put not put bloody animal heads into people's beds because I'm the Joker or something, right? Yeah. But anyway, different schools of thought, right? You never hear about nice method actors. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what?
Never.
You know what? I don't know when it was, like 2019, 2018. There was like that Jim Carrey documentary about when he played...
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Man on the Moon or something, like the Andy Kaufman thing? Yeah. And everyone's like, man, I just loved it. It was so good. I was like, nothing has made me like a person less than watching that documentary. I was like, you're just being rude to people?
I was flabbergasted.
That you work with?
Yeah, I was flabbergasted by it because at the same time that he was like, I mean, in hindsight, it's kind of funny. And I'm like, okay, I won't argue that. In hindsight, it's kind of funny. Right. And I will say, I think some people were, I don't know, my read on it was like, I don't know, he kind of seems like he's aware that it was not the right choice.
I really needed him to say it, though. I really needed him to say it because to me, I did not get that. To me, he was just like, "Oh yeah, I did that anyway." So now I paint. That's kind of what I got from.
I guess that's my point. Is like a lot of the interview, the way he was talking about it, he like there was towards the end, he was just like, and it was just so real, and he started laughing.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, okay, so to me, there's some point of that where he's like, I was an asshole. Yeah,
sure.
Like it's not, you know, and also documentaries, you know, it's always going to be skewed by
the edit
the person who wants to
yeah.
tell. Well, I mean, like it's skewed by the person who wants to tell the story.
Right.
So it's just like, you go through so many edits in a documentary, right? Like you go through what is the person editing while I was interviewing him this one day?
Right.
What do I then edit later with other B footage or other footage that we have from other people talking? How do we morph these narratives because this person talked about these three things and no one else talked about those things, so I have to corroborate them by asking those questions, and then when I ask those questions people are like, oh yeah, I guess that happened, and
Yeah.
or oh, I don't remember that. So like to make a real documentary and not like, I really don't want to make fun of anybody who works for the Food Network, but not like a Food Network fucking interview thing. Yeah, it's kind of like, how do you maintain a level of objectivity, and then also holding some people accountable for like what they're saying in the interview or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what's the follow-up question? But anyway, I think like again, like the read I kind of got from it was that yeah, he's speaking of it with so much distance by this point, because that's like 30 years ago,
Right.
or less than, I guess, like 25 years ago, really. It's like 25 years ago, to the point where it's just like,
What can he do?
what can he can't change what he did, and so it's just trying to accept that, like, yeah, I did that thing, and didn't seem like he had that said about him in any other thing he did, from what I recall. So it's like a moment in time. And yeah, Danny, yeah, I was bringing up the Food Network because of the way that they package all their shows. I worked as a PA on Food Network for a little while.
Wait, that's cool. I didn't know that.
For Chopped. And
that's rad.
It's, well, yeah. The problem with it was that, like, they'd get these chefs and they would, go to their restaurant or whatever, and they'll talk to them. It's the interview portion before they're on the big, game show, and they're doing the private interview or whatever, and they lead so much of those conversations, the producers and the people who run the show, because they had like, hey, we've got 4 hours all together, and we have to go to 3 different locations just to get B-roll of you cooking, and so we have to get these interview things done like now. And so it was basically like, hey, we've already asked you these questions, and you've kind of already given us your pitch video to be on the show anyway, so, or whatever it is that they were doing to like get chosen, and so then they would, it was a lot of guiding questions of just like, this is what you said in your thing, and that's what we really liked and resonated with, so just say that again exactly like that. And it made so much sense to me. I was like, oh, the real people that they get to put on these reality shows are not just all wooden people on the inside. Because I watched these shows, I'm like, God, like, how are these people anything like this? Is so ridiculous. Like, who would say these things like this? And then you see it in person in real time, and you're like, oh, it's because the producer needed you to say these exact words in this exact sentence in this exact time frame so that they can meet their quota for the episode. And this person isn't an actor, so it comes out like, and I'm here to stir up the competition. And so you're like,
oh, that's the cut. That's the edit right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so that was the weirdest part to me, I think.
Yeah.
And it's why I was talking about the food, why I brought it up in that discussion about the Jim Carrey thing, where I'm like, in documentary, I can see that being a very similar thing, where like you're guiding a question or you're guiding something, and you could potentially have something slightly out of context or whatever. But
yeah,
I don't think it's the case in that Jim Carrey one. Were you in charge of the secret ingredients? No. No. I was mainly just doing all of the interview sections of that stuff, not the actual game show itself. It was all of the things where they have union people for the game show parts. They do not need random PA for that. I have a last place ribbon that I got from Alden Brown for coming in last on his little mini game at the stage show. That's cool. That's
That
rad.
is cool.
Does the crew get good food filming for Food Network? It actually depended because depending on what show you were working on or what the shtick was, because like one was like, hey, there's these two different cooks or two or three different cooks who are like all different kind of like pasta makers. That was a really rad week, but the ice cream one was strangely disappointing because
oh my gosh,
we didn't get to have any of the ice cream.
Oh no.
Because it was like the way they were trying to film it, it was like, well, I have to kind of get rid of this. I can't serve this because of the way like they were like dipping the spoon and all these other things. It's like I can't do this or this. So it was just like, damn, I wanted that.
We were kind of talking about this though, because like right across the street from the studio, they were shooting something because at any location in New York at any time there could be a shoot. But we were saying because we could smell the catering.
Yes.
And it smelled really good. And like there's a fair, like sometimes it's bad, but like there's a fair amount of times when I've been on a set for whatever reason, like they like get a service to cater the whole gig. So like usually it's pretty freaking awesome, like, and extensive. Like I don't know, I had one where I was just like, some little featured thing in like a commercial or whatever, and they had like mozzarella sticks like set out as part of the lunch, and that was like with like, do you want a salad, do you want like a burrito, do you want like, they had like all these options. I was like, god dang, I'm like a prince over here and I'm just wearing a fish mascot costume, The only show I love watching is Worst Cooks because there's no way to polish those turds. That's just a funny phrase. Finish my basilisk tonight. That's awesome. Is it LED or not LED?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I remember painting that where I got the basilisk and I was like, this thing is rad. I need to make a really cool scheme. And I like thought of it before I started painting it. I was like, I think that's going to be cool. I was really confident in it. It came out great. I was like, I have the basilisk, everybody. Here it is. And Nate is like, that is badass. Now make a better one because the LED version is going to be cooler. And I was like, oh, crap. I did all my brain power on that one. So I kind of, I genuinely looked at like Pokemon evolutions when I was thinking that, to like think of like, what's like the next form of it.
The blue to like the purple and the like.
Yeah, it's like purple and green. It's like Joker.
Green
Speaking of the Joker. Also, do you want to be on video or no?
I'd have to set up my webcam.
Okay, that's fine. I just, whatever your preference is. I just don't want to be like, only my face is allowed on this hobby hang.
Oh, I get it. I might start drawing here soon. I'm gonna get a glass of water in a second, but I was writing. I was working on.
Just let me know. I'm happy to accommodate whatever video feeds you have.
Part of the released overstock Swampland set. Didn't even expect it. Oh, sure.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. Necromancer's Keep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some water real quick.
I unfortunately feel a market coming on very early. 30 minutes into the stream. I feel like I should anticipate the showtime, right? I don't know. Oh, Topulus, if you're still here, I saw your most recent post on your Mini's Instagram, and man, that looks cool. Like, all your stuff looks good, but that one especially looks like Mwah. Very, very nice work. I don't know what it was about it, but it really, I did a double take at that one. That was very cool. I'm trying to push more. Yeah, it shows. It genuinely shows. Once I am done with some of these armies, I'm very grateful I got some commissions and stuff, but they're mostly like gaming batch stuff. And when this is done by the end of the year, I probably will have painted close to 10,000 points of Warhammer, and I think I need to put it down and finally open up some of my display large scale stuff. So I'm excited for that. I think it will feel earned when I finally get to it, as opposed to, oh, I'll get to that eventually. I'll be like, I need to switch it up. So it will finally motivate me to crack it open. I have a number of things. Obviously, Echoes of Camelot. But, man, is it Mindwork Games? I got this, like, whole collection of, like, Wizard of Oz figures. Of, like, all the main characters that they can be individual or, like, together in, like, a collage. So I got the whole batch that I'm interested in trying. Oh, what was the one... I don't know if it was Big Child. It's like, it was called The Party, and it was adventurers in kind of a cartoony style that I really like in large scale. The diorama, yeah, I got the whole diorama set. Yeah, nice to switch to display after doing a bunch of gaming. And I've loved the gaming because we're getting into it at the office. I just played Warhammer with Nate yesterday. A lot of fun. I've probably played almost a game of a week for like a few weeks now at the studio, so that's nice. But yeah, I'm very excited to put the gaming stuff aside for a while and do some display after this, especially because I it's still up in the air. I don't know if we said this yet or not. It's still up in the air. I'm not certain, so don't quote me. But
well, yeah,
March.
What's the
March convention.
Oh, it is slightly still in the air.
Still in the air. So what I'll say is, if I will be at Golden Demon on my own, or perhaps for work, I'm not certain. I will maybe paint something for Golden Demon.
Nice. The up in the air part is that, like, we are more than likely going to the one I think you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's
those that no now. I said March.
So you wanted to say Adepticon?
Oh, I didn't say it. If you were to look back at the VOD, you would see that I did not say it.
I just mean that, like, we have a favorable percentage going more towards Adepticon than what's the other, PAX East.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I know it's this whole conversation is why I've been uncertain. So we're still hashing out our final plans. So anyway,
it's mainly just to say that, like, it's I know that Mace is doing whatever she can to get to the final answer. So I think it is Adepticon. But
all I'm saying is I'm not here to make any promises. I'm just saying if I happen to be at Golden Demon, I will hopefully paint something for it, and hopefully it can start by, I don't know, December. Golden Demon last time I went was 97. That's awesome. See, that's the thing. When we went in 2021, I forget if it was that year or the previous year, but it's the first time that Golden Demon has been in the US in like a decade, because they used to go to a certain event and it ended up being a different, they left the event. So they still had painting competitions, but they didn't have like the Warhammer official one. And then they brought it back. It was a big deal. And it was a big bucket list thing for me. At Dwarven Forge, on my little shelf, I have the ticket with my name on it, my submission ticket. It was in Baltimore.
My favorite is the story. Yeah, the little story about this is the first miniature I've ever painted.
Yeah, so what I submitted, it was so funny to see it on the shelf, because it's like a tiny metal miniature on a square base next to these beautifully painted, but like the new era of Games Workshop with like the heroic larger scale, the more like dynamic stuff, poses, and like the diorama style things. And I just had this little metal guy, a ghoul holding a bone over his head. It's a copy of the first miniature that I ever painted, I got the blister pack of these metal ghouls when I was like 10 or 11 from my cousins. I saw their Warhammer rulebook at grandma's house for that holiday. They're like, let's get them some minis and paints. I painted these things up. I remember the first time I painted Elmer's glue onto a base and dipped it in grass flock, and it blew my mind. Was on one of those guys. And then finally I decided to collect dwarfs as an army. So I was born to be at a place called Dwarven Forge. But yeah, so every once in a while I see if there's any like cheap blisters of these ghouls on eBay or something. So I have like, I don't know, half a dozen of them. So I had painted up this one, and that's what I submitted to Golden Demon. Proudly in the case, the smallest of the bunch, the only square-based miniature I saw in the whole case. But yeah, that was fun. That was more a bucket list thing. I wasn't trying to win anything. It was just like, I just want to have entered. That's already a thing. And then if I don't know, it was tough. It's tough because a lot of people, you know, they paint all year to this display level, and they're like, oh, I have a GW thing. I'll just submit it. I have it on my shelf. So I'm kind of in the worst case scenario of like, oh, I hope, you know, within a couple months before the convention, I'll find out if we're going, and then I can paint something for it. And that's like 100-hour project. So that's not setting myself up great, but
I think Mace is getting to the bottom of it like the next week.
Oh no.
She's trying to set up the entirety of 2024 conventioning.
And I appreciate that. I'm more commenting on my poor time management than, you know, Mace's figuring stuff out.
Well, we won't be working the holidays this time, so...
True. You know, so what you're saying is I will be working on my Golden Demon submission.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. I have stuff that I bought for that purpose that may be hidden on my shelf.
Hi, Obi.
Obi, I freaking love Obi, and it just makes me sad that he's so afraid of me.
Yeah.
I know it's not personal, but...
Well, it is.
Oh, he said so.
He's personally afraid of you.
Right.
But it is to each and every person that's not me or
okay.
Rachel.
So he didn't say, hey, listen, all of your friends, honestly, love him. There's this one.
No, it was
that
never,
you keep having feed me.
It's the exact opposite.
Okay.
He's saying, look, hate all of your friends.
Right. Okay, that I can live with. That I can live with.
He leaves it there.
And honestly, he and I have a game going, and the unfortunate part is he doesn't know about this game. But I have a game with Obi where I'm like, where are you hiding? Because I have to see his face before I leave when you're away and I'm feeding them. Just for my paranoia and anxiety, and to make sure that he's safe and well. But he does not want to be found by me, so
no,
I need to look, and he gets very creative.
My favorite place he hides is, I think in the closet on top of the clothes.
The clothing racks.
Yeah.
You know, a place you wouldn't look, so you might say, be frantically looking around this apartment for 20 minutes before you finally see him. Yes. Yeah.
He's like living a Friday the 13th nightmare as you're frantically.
And that's why I feel bad also. Mouth, like I'm sitting, this is how it starts. I'm alone in the apartment, and I'm just like trying to be quiet and soft and slow, and I'm like, Obi, I'm just looking for you. I'm sorry. I just want to know that you're okay. And by the end, I'm like, where the hell are you? And I'm not tearing things off the shelves, but it's like, that's what my energy is. I'm like tearing the place apart. I'm like, Obi, I need to see your face. And then when I finally do find him, he's like, you're a nightmare. But then I'm like, okay, I saw you. Be well, take care.
Goodbye.
But yeah, so I thought I had found all of his hiding places. Then he creates new ones. Yeah. And I remember there was one where Annie, the other kitty cat, I thought I knew all. He'll either like come out because he's more. He'll come say hi, or I know his spots. But the one time that I was getting all frantic was because I was like, I have literally looked everywhere. Where could he possibly be? And then I looked at the window and I said,
Yep.
I guess I haven't looked behind this 4 inches of curtain space that's at the window. And sure enough, he looks up at me like, hey, how's it going?
Hi.
And I'm like, good. It's going great, Annie. You take care now. I'm leaving.
His favorite activity is looking out the window. He
Yeah.
loves watching the birds
Yes.
and the people that live next door.
Atomic Mass has a Marvel painting competition at Adepticon. That'd be cool. I've been wanting to do that as well. I mean, Golden Demon I just have an attachment to because Warhammer's nostalgic for me, so I'm not like, it's the best because Warhammer. It's very much super biased and flawed because it's Games Workshop, I think it's safe to say. But as far as like the style that gets rewarded, but anyway. There's a lot of other cool ones too, like I have a Creature Caster kit that I think they usually have a contest. It's cool to hear that AMG has one too. I'm sure there'll also be like Shatterpoint stuff and that kind of thing. So that'd be cool. Yeah, Resin Beast. I don't have a large scale one though. I have like their 32 mil, like it's called the Retinue. They're like witch hunters, 32 mil, like a skirmish group. Yeah, they're kind of sick. It's kind of reminds me of like, I think I'm thinking of this because I think you have played it, but it reminds me of like Grim Dawn aesthetic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We played that
Yes.
for a day.
For a day. Just like we played Hunt Showdown for
Like
a night.
2, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't played a shooter since Elden Ring released, though, so I think I might be beyond that. Speaking of which, I need you to play Sea of Stars because I'm loving it very much, and I don't want to spoil things, but I need you to know what's happening so that I can talk to you about it.
I am all for that.
Mhm.
As soon as I can get over the stuff in my head about writing the stuff for the campaign.
That makes sense. What's great is we have a platform right now where we can just switch straight into Sea of Stars. So I'll get the feed, I'll get the game feed set up. You imagine that?
Honestly, I could.
What if we show up on Monday and we're like, you said you had some comments about the Twitch channel? What are you referring to?
What did you... How dare you? Yeah, Jay-Z. No, not even for a second. He wouldn't care.
I think Privateer Press has a painting competition. How do y'all have War Machine Hordes communities in your local areas? I had some of the miniatures back in the day. I feel like they had a scene, but is it still like alive and well? I know they released a new edition, but I don't know. I hope it's doing okay. It seemed kind of cool. It's kind of like it was one of the first sort of army scale games to do like the round-based skirmish style units, I feel like. It's in existence? Okay. Communities use Discord. I suppose that's the thing, right? Like there's a ton of like Warhammer communities that are exclusively online and use like TTS and stuff. This is just a virtual TTRPG, Jay. It's on topic. Yeah, they just use dice rolls in the background of the game. It's
We're
simulating
learning.
Dungeons and Dragons.
We're trying to figure out if this is good for the board game.
Right. So anyway, I'm fighting this boss. If you could leave me alone. We're still streaming, like straight through Monday. Hey Tyler, Hamster, are you gonna be on the Monday morning meeting? No, we're still streaming. We're still streaming from Thursday.
Yeah.
But listen, new record, 45 minutes in. I need to mark it, and the show is yours for 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay. Now, does market is that like in the dog sense?
Yes. Like, that's not what the inside joke is referring to, but it's funny how accurate that is, where like you are correct in what it's referring to. That's not what it means. Normally it's like mark the time at which, where it started was, and she might hate me for saying this, when Mace was on the stream, it was mark the time at which Mace is going AFK for the deed. And she's like, you know, okay, F you guys, stop it. And so now every time I need to do such a deed, I say I have to mark it. but you're it's just funny that you're like you created an entirely different scenario, but I'm like, yeah, that's actually exactly right. Um, yes. Okay, so now is when you can do your tinfoil hat conspiracy theory talk because I will be away.
Okay.
So just don't tell me what you said. Okay, to be clear,
Yeah.
Tyler has not said any of this. I made a bad joke at your expense. You're not a
Okay.
conspiracy theory
We'll
person.
find out.
To my knowledge, maybe you are. I guess I'll have to double check the VOD. For now, you can say whatever you want.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, bye.
Jesus. Well, what's great is it's a blank screen with 3 based miniatures, and I am no longer. I have no visual presence here. A long time ago, there was a. Oh,
I'm still here. Okay, now I'm going. Bye.
okay. Dang it. That's incredible. Yeah. This is floundering at its best. Right now, I'm just kind of working on campaign stuff. I'm starting for the first time. I am playing Pathfinder, second edition, and so I am excited to get that going. It has been an enormous undertaking of my brain for right now because I've been developing it for the world that I usually play like D&D in, and setting it in like 50 years after the last campaign. A lot of that stuff, right? Like where it's just, how do I want this to develop? I want to play an urban campaign. I haven't been able to play an urban campaign in a long time. And you're right, Topulus. Yes. I mean, I made that joke earlier, and I got ridiculed for it by Hamster and by his partner Katie. Like she his partner just like but yeah, just trying to. I've also been learning a lot about New York City government while I've been doing it. I've been basing a lot of the city itself off of like New York and New Orleans and San Francisco, and kind of like the way that those cities look, feel, neo-noir, inspirations. And hi there, Nate's Miniatures. And Hamster will be back shortly. I'm just a disembodied voice for the moment. So he will return shortly and be able to reprieve me from this dialogue. I killed a player on Monday in my D&D game. I'm amazed how emotional you can get over a fictional person a friend made up. Yeah, I feel you there. Run a couple of games, and there was one time where it was unfortunate. It was a little upsetting. Um Miles actually was playing a character that had this pretty big story moment of, he was this folk hero who his folk hero-ness to him was like not was not true. He was messing around and he ends up like destroying an entire dam, and it starts like to rush, like all this water goes down to this nearby village, or like this nearby town. And what had happened was that there was a raid happening from like these bandits, this like goblin band, this goblin war band had been moving through. And so he ended up, his character ended up actually saving this town by accident because of this like rushing flood and so they kind of herald him as this hero. But his character had always felt like it was the exact opposite, that he had been, you know, the cause of a bunch of, there's still dead bodies, there's still people who died because of the flood itself, right? So he just like couldn't think that it was the correct answer. And and the guy who was like leading that war band, I had it from the beginning. I was like, okay, that's going to be a confrontation. He's got to confront this guy again, the hobgoblin who like led this war band. So sure enough, his name is Rudnick, and Rudnick had he like figured out where he lived, like where he grew up, and had been waiting and been trying to like find him. And then eventually they finally actually went back to uh Miles's character's hometown, and Rudnick set all of his men on the town to like bring him out. And sure enough, he did. And it was like uh Miles's character was like, I want a one-on-one with you. Like, if like, let's do it. Like, if I do this, will you leave everybody alone? He's like, exactly, that's all I want. I'm just here to prove that what you did was a fluke. I'm just here to like, I like thinking of goblins and all these other creatures as having more than just evil intentions. And like, so these guys, so the goblins of the world I created is like, they have a lot more what am I trying to say? They have a lot more just like gumption of we're nomadic, we don't always stick in the same place, but so their war bands are the things that are their family. It's the like, no, we just do jobs, we just take, they're mercenaries essentially because they prefer that life. And so he's like, I'm just going to show that I didn't lose because you were better than me. I lost because of, you, like, you didn't even fight me. And so while they fought, Rudnick actually won, just because of a couple of bad rolls, but it, story-wise, it made a lot of sense. And then this is a huge lead up, by the way, as most stories with me go. But the nature of it was, he was in this beautiful event where he loses, and Rudnick wasn't killing him. It was that Luffy from One Piece, or it's this other things of like, I proved that I'm better than you. That's all I had to do. And he was like stepping away, walking away from it. And he brought him down to 0. It's 5e, so he was going to start making death saving throws. But he also wasn't doing anything to him. And the first person's turn after that was the rogue. And they decided they're like, I'm going to throw a dagger at him. I'm like, what? This was like a satisfying end to this tete-a-tete that like was going to then spur Miles's character to this next thing. And by you attacking, now they're all just going to attack each. Okay, so we're in a full-on combat now. And so then because Miles had been on the ground, like they basically stabilized him and took out all of the remaining enemies, including Rudnick. So he didn't even get the chance to like not kill him or stand up to it. So I only made that anecdote to talk about when you say I killed a player character on Monday, as long as you didn't do it unjustifiably, that's probably why I would, or rather, the reason it probably actually made you emotional was because it was a satisfying end, even if it was you didn't want it to end. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hell yeah. I remember Kelsey telling me that. Yeah, the 5e Eberron book has a pretty good table of city encounters, events, and things for them to see. Good inspiration. Yeah, I love Eberron in general, and the 5e one is great. And I remember the original when that came out. I had. Are we muted?
No, I am. Sorry. Thank you, Lone Goldfish.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Nate's Miniatures. I was just saying, I've had really memorable... some of my favorite campaign moments have been when characters have died or been close to death. So as long as it's, like, fueled by the narrative, it can be really awesome and, like, the opposite of a feel bad. But it can also very easily be a feel bad, so...
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the PC that died was a Goblin, yeah. And then the 5A were on. Yeah, like I'm excited to get into the campaign itself. I mean, hopefully you're going to be able to play Hamster. Oh my God!
I hope
I'm
at least
out of my
intermittently.
Indiana Jones Cup too.
You have your Indiana Jones Cup? We got these promotional Indiana Jones Cups by going together to the new Indiana Jones movie.
At the Alamo Draft House.
Yes, and that was thanks to Katie, who we heard earlier on stream, or maybe didn't hear, but she was off camera here.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where she messaged me. I was at Dwarven Forge, and in the morning she's like frantically messaging me like, there's a premiere event where they have cups. Do you want one? And I haven't thought about Indiana Jones in a long time, though I have a great fondness for it growing up with it. But as soon as I saw the message, I was like, yeah, that's something I absolutely need. What are we waiting for? As soon as I saw it, the FOMO struck, and we all did it.
FOMO struck me too. I was
like,
I gotta have the
cup, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna tell the other story. But the
wait, are you talking about... Okay.
No, I'm not gonna tell that story.
You're just making sure that I feel the shame still in this moment, but we're not gonna clue people in. Okay. I'm just clarifying.
I didn't really mean to. I was trying to pass it, and then you asked me and asked me. So
you had to comment. That's all I'm saying.
I was trying not to. And it just vocalized it. But yeah, I'm excited because you might get to play in this campaign too.
Yes.
So
I hope so. Definitely later this year.
Yeah. Like I'm just excited. One of the things I made last night that I was like super excited about was a law about impersonation. So effectively in this city, because we're doing an urban campaign in this city, it being impersonation such as illusory disguise to act as another person, similar spells to imitate their voice, or pretending to be another citizen or outside entity in any official capacity in an attempt to perjure or otherwise falsify testimony of said individual is a crime. Like, I love the opportunity for me to make a rule that, like, you can take the spell, disguise self. You can take the spell, this thing. You can even, do all of these, I am this person and I'm walking in the room and I'm going to say these things. Like, fantastic. However, please understand that this society knows what magic is and is basically like, we got AI detectors, bitch.
Well, and I love that, and I said this to you too, where it's like, it is very much, not a trope, but it's like, it's very reasonable to have that in your arsenal. Like, I'm going to have an illusory spell or a disguise spell, like, and use it fairly frequently for, like, the non-combat type of problems. And just, like, kind of, like, the meta of knowing that, like, not that you're doing it on purpose, but it makes a very interesting, unexpected scenario where you're like, well, obviously I'll just use disguise self. Are we not playing a role-playing game? And you're like, great. The popos come in. And right, it's like, I did not even consider that. Of like, how do people feel about me doing this?
And I think the big one for me is the idea of like, yeah, it's not like a crime to impersonate someone genuinely as like a parody or like, oh, I'm doing it to like I've made I don't know but it's in an attempt to perjure or like falsify something where it's kind of like, yeah, you can't make them do something illegal and like, oh, that's who I am. Like, people are going to try to do it, not just the player characters, but like obviously there's going to be ne'er-do-wells who will most likely attempt to do the same. And that's the danger of it, right? Where it's like, it's not emphatically you're 100% going to pay it, hefty fine for doing so. It's like, no, it's just more likely that you will get caught or something.
But it also makes it an interesting thing for like you to solve, and the context for the players of like, okay, so that is really cool and unexpected that this is illegal. But then it's kind of like the freedom of speech. Like how do you actually hit all of the political corners of this issue then, which is a really interesting problem that like you don't consider when you're playing fantasy superheroes as much.
So and that's what
cool.
that's why I want to do it, is that I'm just like, there's another one that I did that I thought was going to be cool, which was magical manipulations of the mind with an intent to change dispositions or favorability, such as enthrall or fear. So things that like alter people's moods is also a crime. So like in certain scenarios, again, with an intent to change, I think I have to add a qualifier of like, for the purpose of like business or for the purpose of effectively, like if you're using this magical manipulation enchantment spell to effectively create a scenario where this person likes you more and is going to give you a deal, if they find out and they want to charge you with it, the city will be like, yeah, you utilized magic to manipulate someone to like give you a discount. That's pretty messed up. Like, you shouldn't just be allowed to do that. And then a degree beyond that, from my opinion, and that's a major crime. So it's like split between three. There's like minor, major, and grand. And the grand crime version of that is magical manipulations of the mind with an intent to like enslave, such as dominate or suggestion. Because suggestion in its makeup of suggestion, that effectively is robbing someone of free will. It's saying they now have to try to do this action to the best of their ability. Now that no, in like suggestion, it says like, oh, it can't be things that like directly harm it. But if you tell, hey, I suggest you open that door for me, they'll do it. Right. So like, it's that where it's like, but that's still a mental manipulation. That is still basically robbing them of the ability. So it's like, that's a huge deal. Autonomy and freedom is paramount in this city. And then if you impersonate a government official in that same way with like illusory disguise or whatever, that's an even greater crime. They're like, oh, you trying to manipulate politics. Let's see. Skipper Danny. It was very justified, but was a choice. It wasn't satisfying, but necessary. They were down 2 death saves. The cleric used an offensive spell instead of healing, and the fighter, knowing the monster had a reaction that allowed it to transfer the damage to a creature that it had grappled, still decided to melee the monster. There was more than one character grappled, but I felt like I couldn't let that mistake on the fighter's part pass. Yeah, those are always the tough parts. DM-wise, where you're like, I kind of can't not have this thing happen, because not even just like break immersion, but it's like there's a degree of that like per game that you guys get to work, that everyone who plays it gets to work out, like, hey, there should be consequences for paying attention or not paying attention to a thing. And the level of severity, I think, is the thing. If you feel like, hey, by the way, I want you to know that this is, if you talk to that player and it's like, I want you to know this is why I did this, and it's not that you played it, or it's not that I want to do it. It's more that like I feel like I gave you the information, and I want you to know that like that's what I'm trying to do in those scenarios is give you that information. Because that's the only other thing I could have suggested would have been like, yeah, maybe the only other thing to do in those moments is to remind the player of the dire circumstance, saying like,
Right.
hey, you know, just so you know, right, like when the cleric is using an offensive spell instead of a healing spell, that's totally fine. In the fighter choosing to attack instead of attempting to get the person who is at 2 death saving throws out, yet again, to your point, it is a choice, and it's not something that you have to stop. But maybe it could have been a thing to bring up, or if you, I don't know if you did or not. But like, yeah, that's the only thing I can think of in those scenarios of saying like, great. Just so we all know, you're the only one who's going to go before this monster goes, right? Like even something like that can change a character's perspective on something. It's not. You shouldn't attack this thing. Your friend's in danger. It's, hey, you're kind of the only other person, or even before that, like if you can see 2 death saving throws and you know that this thing is grappling and you're like, okay, everybody, just so we're all aware, there's this many turns before this monster goes again, and it still has a reaction. So it, you guys know that this thing has a reaction to do blah blah blah. So like it's a thing where like you can there's like guidance there where it's sort of like it's really tricky, and I don't think you played it wrong. I guess that's my, again, the bigger point is like that was not the wrong adjudication. It's just that it's like, yeah, I can see why you would feel hurt by that choice. Like hurt by like, I shouldn't have, maybe I shouldn't have, but at the same time I know I did the right thing because I was playing it the way that I think it should be played, and I was playing it out. And I think that's really tough. Like it's not a 100% surefire answer on any of that. And it's like it's an interesting conundrum to have to always be in, of like, at what point am I coddling at some level, and at what point am I showing like, hey, you probably could have taken a little bit more care with this action, and that could have had a better effect. Or again, even just being preemptive, being like, okay, we've got, from this point on, even it could be a thing where if somebody goes down to 2 death saving throws, as a DM, you make a choice to say, okay, everyone, our friend here is at 2 death saving throws. We've got this many rounds and these many people going in here, just so we're all aware, right? Like this is somebody blah 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 blah. Because there's this great dialogue that I've seen a lot of times from like great DMs like Brennan and Abria and even Mercer, and a lot of really good people who run games talk about that a lot, where it's like there's things you can hide from your players, but you don't have to hide everything. Like and stuff like that, where it can illuminate them to the danger of the situation, because there is, there's a little bit of a dissociation between playing a game and quote unquote experiencing it in real life, where it's like, yeah, I'm in the safety of this apartment where I don't have to worry about a giant displacer beast coming at me. I don't know what action I would make in that scenario, but I'm going to just attack it. And it being like, well, you should probably run. It's like, nah, I'm fine. And it's like, yeah, but your character is not. like sometimes that can be unhelpful.
Well, and it's hard, like you said, it's hard to say what is best because it depends on the group. Like,
yeah,
if everyone is, like, some groups are in the spirit of we're playing fantasy superheroes and we're just dungeon delving, and like that's cool. But if you're in the spirit of we're like really all together on creating a narrative, then like hopefully there's no negative on like creating a really cool dramatic moment where maybe someone dies. And I think in my limited experience only as a PC, what's always been cool is like if there's something that's going to dramatically change the story or the party, the DM is like, all right, you need to come chat with me for 5 minutes.
Mhm.
And then as players, you're like, oh, it's like in the classroom, right? Like when you get called to the front of the class, like, oh,
Yeah.
what's happening, right? And so everyone is excited about it. And then the players making this decision really can know the gravity of it and understand
Yeah.
everything that the DM may be thinking of that maybe others aren't, where,
Yeah.
because people are attached to these things, so it is a fair thing to like be like, hey, this is kind of like the threads that you're looking at. You can go one of X amount of ways.
Right.
And
Right.
then it's like that moment of suspense for the other players of like, what are we not seeing, or like what is happening, or what are they considering? And then it gives that player something to reveal, where like we come back and this is what happens. Maybe they do die, but you don't know necessarily 100% why. You know why it happened immediately, but you don't know like they've probably then they're offered like certain cool satisfying things of how to progress. Like maybe it is a new character, maybe they're gonna play, like for instance what just happened this last one is the DM straight up said the choice,
Yeah.
where it was like, so basically if they sacrificed their character, they were going to play this NPC, which is a follower of another player character who they were saving. Like if they chose to save that person, they will then play them, which was kind of an interesting choice. So
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Kelsey's great on that.
Oh yeah, Kels is great, and like there's a way to make the negative air quotes stuff really fun and interesting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I always relish, like if there's a moment for it to narratively make sense that my character dies, I'm like, let's do it.
I
like
think again, like you're talking about like that also depends on the player thing too, right? Where it's like if you're kind of like all in the same mindset,
right.
that's very important.
We play at work, the dead PC belonged to my boss. So this is a
Oh,
whole other
yeah.
realm of stakes.
Yeah.
That
Also,
only
one of
you
the
can
other
no.
failed saves was also inflicted by the fighter in a previous round. That would make me so mad. That is the thing where and as it's correct, where reminding players of things they know about but may have forgotten is only fair. Classic is when something was mentioned 3 months ago in real life, but was just yesterday in the game. It's like, oh yeah, absolutely, because that's a huge. But like, the fact that it's the same fighter doing like, yeah, I'm gonna attack it. It's like, okay, it uses its reaction, and since this person is grappled, unfortunately. It's a death saving throw failure for you, my boss. I'm sorry. And for the fighter to not then register like, oh right, I really need to be not hitting this thing. I need to do something else. Is very frustrating. The cleric has raised dead, and we left them all hanging if it worked for next week. Oh, that's nice. And Hippo. Oh, sorry, no, Merc. Merc said this a while ago. I'm running a campaign where arcane magic is illegal, not that players can't be wizards, but that the Empire will arrest them on sight if they were seen or reported to be using arcane magic. Of course, half the party heard that and made wizards and warlocks and are constantly on the run hiding from the Inquisition. Of course. I mean, also, don't act like you don't want that. Like,
No,
you don't
yeah,
want
like
the juice.
that's an
You
interesting
don't
thing
say
to play.
magic is illegal and then go like, and you better not make a magic character.
That's like, to me at least, that's the reason to play RPGs, is like that's a fun thing to roleplay. It's one thing to just be like, you have really cool powers. It's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But like this extra layer of like when and why you choose to use them at a great consequence, at the risk of a consequence, like that's even more interesting.
Well, that's something on the thing that I've been in the principalities and municipality of the city I've been making. Like all these like zoning laws and things, even though it's not the most interesting thing RPG wise, like I'm having fun because it's going to set parameters, and that was kind of what we were talking about earlier today even, which like I'm hoping that that's what that inspires is like, if you want to interact with this world, there are some rules in place that I think are going to make that experience more fun and more tactile, and you're just going to have to pay attention a little bit. And I'm playing with people who want to role play, I think is the big thing. So like I think they're going to pay attention. And Hippo said in response to the player thing, how I handle things where monsters have options that they can or cannot decide without seeming adversarial against the players is roll a dice. So say there's 2 grappled creatures and the damage goes to a random creature it has, then make it random. If the monster has a choice, you consider their choices and react to it. Players made their choice, you're making yours. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that, Hippo. I think that's a great, that's a great equalizer. I'll do that often, where I'm just like, oh, it can attack 2 different people. I'm just gonna roll to see which one it preferred. It's gonna go for this one. I'm totally happy with that. I think in that scenario, the reason I would agree with Danny is that like, well, it's grappling an already weakened opponent. It's probably gonna go for the one that's still weak. And like, there's logic, right? Like you can either go the logical route and say like, I just think that that's what it's gonna be, or you can go to exactly your point, roll for it, see if you can get around it, and say it's actually going to utilize this effect on someone else. But if the fighter was the only one that it had grappled, and that's the only way it could use its reaction, you also have the opportunity to say it's not going to use its reaction because it wants to wait. But it's also, again, if that's the only one it can use it again, then that's the only one. Maybe less of a problem with DEF, but just misunderstanding the layout of the room always seems like it feels bad for a player to make an illogical choice just based on not understanding what is where. Yeah. Miles actually suffers from aphantasia, so has a very, very difficult time picturing anything in his head. That's not based on something, right? Like, that's not like I'm looking at a picture, so now I'm understanding what it looks like and visualizing it. So I luck out in that, like, I am an artist, so I would do some very, very, very basic renderings a lot of the time while we were playing the game, or I would have like some just quick art references of like, yeah, it's like a generalized this thing. And what was great was then also having the spark of imagination from him saying, okay, cool, are there things like this then? And it's how high? I'm like, yeah, it's like 60 feet. And he's like, oh, okay. So in that 60 feet, are there these things? Are these things? And it's like, yes, there are those kinds of things. Yeah, cool. Is there something that's like it effectively, like, having one anchor point, I think, is always going to be better no matter if you can visualize or not. And I think that's the duty of the DM personally, of like, even if you don't have Dwarven Forge to build everything, and actually I rephrase that, especially if you don't have Dwarven Forge to display everything. There is the nature of just even having a reference art, or even just having something where it's like, I doodled a little kind of small representation of how far it would be if you were at the bottom, if you were at the floor and this window is 100 feet up. Like, that's kind of what it would look like. Even stuff like that, I think, usually gives people something to stand on, where they get to say, cool, here's my other questions, and then that becomes the fabric of how they build the room themselves. So yeah, but yeah, it's definitely a pain point or a headache.
Yeah, but you really just need you really just need enough information to know what questions to ask. Like, people really get creative when they have enough information. You don't need like every little tiny thing. Yeah.
No, yeah, I don't want to tell you, the cracks in the floor are 3 millimeters deep,
Right.
which the blood pooling through it is 150 milliliters. It's
Type O.
yeah, it's stuff like that where it's like, yeah, you need the presence. You do not need the specifics sometimes. Puzzles is a big one, I think.
Yeah, you gotta have information on that.
That's
Yeah.
the one. That's the one that, like, if you have a puzzle you want to do and it has anything to do with symbols, you gotta draw those symbols. it doesn't matter if they're good symbols. You just got to
Yeah.
draw them. You got to do something because it's going to be nearly impossible for people to keep that in their head and try to make the choices that they need. Um, we had that in a Dread game recently. The DM was shocked. We all walked into the corridor. We were expecting to be trapped rather than the safe route. Turns out she had her left and rights the wrong way round and had been describing everything in the mirror to her own
Oh
map. Oh,
no.
jeez.
I love Dread. I'll tell you what, I've had some really great experiences
So
with Dread.
fun. Yeah, well, your characters have always been hysterical.
Well, and again, they've always died dramatically.
Yeah, they did. I died dramatically in that last one.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. I was so happy to be taken over by the thing. That was great. That was so fun. One of my players has, Basilisk is done.
Hey, congrats. Yeah. Post some pictures in the Discord if you're in there. Artist Alley or share your minis or whatever.
Yeah. Finley again. One of my players has Aphantasia, which is why I always try and use DF for things to help. Yeah, even something basic, small, it's always great. I also really do appreciate Tailspire. Tailspire is great for like quick builds and like, quick definitions of things. And there's a lot of resources now, right? Like there are really good resources now in terms of there's that iterative builder that I thought was really cool, the dungeon builder that like you make the size of the room and it starts to it auto populates and then you can kind of like sit there and change a couple of things, which is that's just like a really neat thing I think for a lot of people who are like, I'm not too worried about specifics. I kind of just need a nice little layout to kind of like get people through this thing. It's like awesome. I also love ISO maps. I wish I could do isometric maps better. I just think I don't have the right program for it. It's just really hard for me to get it done. I'm starting to wonder if I have aphantasia just recently. I can see connections in my head, but not images. For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to define even, right? Like, it's hard to verify. But it is a thing where it's just sort of like, this is if you can't do it, you can't do it, and that's about that's why I work with Miles when he's the player and I run the game to figure out what would benefit him the most. I definitely do. That's why I like building maps and painting. I can never paint a blank canvas, but having that physical item in front of me feels good, right? Yeah. Oh, Sly Flourish, that's right. Does pictures of... I forgot that the Sly Flourish does pictures of Dwarven Forge for isometric maps in his virtual games.
Oh, that's
which
cool.
Is cool. Yeah. My favorite part of ISO maps is the ability of depth. Like, going up and down levels.
Yeah.
It makes it feel Diablo-esque. And that itches that little thing for me that I like a lot, like original Diablo or Diablo 2, that feeling.
Right.
Well, now that I've spoken through all of that, I actually do have to go because Ray is ready, and I got to go talk to him about character stuff. We're gonna go do some.
I'm happy to hear that he's interested in playing the campaign.
Oh yeah, he's one of the first. He was in the, because it's gonna be that West Marches style. So we have like 10 people right now.
That's awesome.
So we're gonna.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Yes, of course. And
I'm glad you messaged me.
Yes. Oh, also, I'm gonna message you about Saturday.
Yes, please do.
We confirmed the time, so
yeah, keep me in the loop. I'll be in the office, but I'll be able to drop by at one point or another for sure.
Great. And if you want to come to the movie tomorrow night, I mean, like, it still looks like we'll have the whole theater to ourselves. It's only like 9 p.m. So
I was considering that.
Okay. All right.
So if you keep peer pressuring me, then we'll see.
Perfect. As long as Katie comes too.
That I can't promise, but all right,
man.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Always good to have company. I don't know what Chris is up to, but he had said, I'm not gonna be on tonight. I was like, all right, it'll be Hamster solo. And then like 5 minutes before, Tyler was like, you streaming soon, right? So that's absolutely. Yes. I lost my Nuln oil. Citadel Black Wash, yeah, a staple in many's collections. I might be pretty close to done with this. Just the base, obviously. Excuse me. I'm rushing a little bit. I really do want to finish these free blades. I don't need them to be perfect. I noticed Chris wants to start playing this game a lot more, and I'll just be happy if they're painted at all, honestly. So I need to, on this stream, especially lately, I've been making a bad habit about getting too finicky. It's like, look, just make a painted miniature. By the time it's on the table, you're going to be happy with it. You won't see all the mistakes. So I'm kind of trying to just push myself with this one here. Not because it's all perfect, but just being okay with it not being so. Because together, twilla cool. You can't say you paint minis until you spilled a full bottle of Nuln oil. Listen, this is part of the reason why I don't own a lot of Citadel paints anymore. I don't trust those pots for a number of reasons. The balance of those tall ones, the washes, the contrast. Also just the pots. I've had bad luck with them in general. Paint's drying out, getting paint out of them. I don't own many of those nowadays. My local game store just got a big new Citadel display to go with their army painter. I should see if they have some. It is a great wash. The consistency of Nuln Oil is very useful, where it's not overpowering. It's really a true wash. Like, you can slap it on and pretty much, you know, it's pretty foolproof. It's thin enough to shade, not thick enough to like overly stain, from what I've seen. One of my favorite memes is the guy with the huge bottle of oil pouring it over salad. Me and Nuln Oil. I keep taking pictures to show off, and then I see an hour's worth of flaws to fix can never be satisfied. I will say, actually, taking photos is a great way to look at your miniature before you're done. Where if you say, I'm pretty close, I might step out for a break, snap a photo of it on your phone or something, because you will see things that you don't see in person. Like, it's just your brain shifting perspective, the way the lighting is, the way that your camera does kind of filter it. There's always some bit of processing, right? And it is a really good way to see those things in a good way, where before you're done, you know, if you do take a photo, you go for a quick 5-minute break, you look at it, it will illuminate a lot of things. It's kind of similar to the lamp I have at Dwarven Forge. Has like 2 switches. There's like a cool light bulb and a warm light bulb, and switching between the two, you will see vastly different things, especially in that case with value and stuff. Under the warm light, you kind of, the color washes out, but like you can see the values if your contrast is high enough. So just like shifting how you're looking at it at all versus just staring at it makes you see different stuff. So I find it really useful, actually. Sometimes on purpose I'll just take a picture before I leave to look at, and then even just like taking a break the next day, you know, you can do one more pass and like completely change the miniature. This is why I did not take another picture of the basilisk. It would not be done. I also see the value in that, of being like, I have decided this is done, so I need to not look at it anymore, because that's kind of what I was saying. It's like, if I will be unhappy with a thing, especially a gaming piece, if I put it down overnight and I come back, I'll be like, yeah, that looks cool. Let's play with it. I'll just like completely forget about what I was worried about. My painting looks great in low lighting and without my reading glasses. Mine is like 5 different settings. I have a hard time deciding what to set it to when I paint. Honestly, I would crank that thing up for when you're painting, just so you can see exactly like all the different things that you're adding. Like, there's nothing that's hiding from you, right? But every few minutes, not few minutes, like 30 minutes, whenever you're going to take a break, I literally just swivel my chair, look at it in the ambient light. Just look at it in like whatever lighting your room has that's not under your paint lamp. And then I'll even switch between it, see the difference. And that can illuminate a lot of things for you to note when you come back. being fairly just kind of loose and messy on the base. If there's anything that's really awkward, I'll just take it to the office and throw a tuft on it. It's my plan. Can't go wrong with a tuft. Hide your sins with a tuft. Oh, I could highlight real quick. It's a nice kind of little jewel tone accent, like a really bold, saturated color. I kind of like having that on there. Forgot that I did that. Even you know what helps is when I'm streaming, even just looking at the miniature on the monitor here, similarly to taking a photo and looking at it, it makes me see a lot of different stuff. I don't know if I'm going to go back to much on this one because it's in a warband of many and it's got paint all over it. I'll probably be fine playing with it. So Hallmark made a Themberchild Christmas ornament. What is Themberchild? I'll tell you what, Mama Hamster, huge fan of Hallmark movies. Holiday season, that's all she's watching. The Fat Red Dragon. Oh my gosh, that's cool. Wait, is it Hallmark brand? How do they know about dragons? I thought they only know about mediocre rom-coms. Oh, from the D&D movie. Oh, that's cool. I should have known that. I've seen it twice. I guess I didn't know the name. I've learned a lot mixing, like self-mixing a lot of stuff. That's normally what I have here at home for the stream, is a small selection of paints that I mix, but having like saturated browns, like really bold browns, I'm not good at mixing right now. Just thinking of that as I look at the base there. D&D movie is a Hallmark movie now? Oh my gosh. This holiday season. I am catching myself getting finicky here still in the base, but it's more of a mixing exercise because I haven't quite gotten like the foresty green that I want out of the stuff that I have, so. If they get a sequel, the director's practically promised a beholder. That would be awesome, right? I like this gray over on this side here that breaks this up a little bit. Add some of that more. That's kind of cool. Not too bad. I added a little more yellow than I expected, but it adds some nice brightness. Beholder tree ornaments. Be something else. I want to add a little more to this red, but I have a habit of over highlighting red. The more I've thought about red over the past couple months, it's like it has to end up darker than average, like relative to other colors, in order to appear red. Like, I don't know. It goes either pink or orange if I over highlight it. Or it's just like it's most red when it's at a certain value, and if as soon as it starts going past this like threshold, it goes pink or orange. Yeah, when I think about that, I think I was having difficulty figuring this out too, but I think it comes down to the difference between like chroma and saturation, where it's like the chroma of red, it's like the most chromatic red at a more mid-tone value. You want your highlights to generally stay in the mid-tone rather than higher, right? And like the thing, the rule of thumb with painting miniatures is like push the contrast, go further, go brighter. With highlights, darker with shadows. But with red, it's easy. I trap myself by, you gotta. I have to be a little more conservative. Red, you can bring it up higher than glaze back over with the red. That's a good point, right? Bring the identity back to red, because you don't want it to look flat. Like right now, it like looks red, but it also looks flat. So let's do that. We'll do a bright highlight and a glaze. Or can always push your shadows even darker. Yeah, that's true too. Because this is very, very mid-tone here. So this is fairly pinkish. I don't know why I insist on using overused brushes. Like, you have brushes with that actual tip, just use it. And the key is to force myself to let it dry instead of fiddling on top of wet paint, wondering why it goes awry. I'm a sucker for wine colors and burgundy. Yeah, I dig that. I dig that. A nice kind of crimson-y dark thing. Kind of nice, adding a little. We deepen the shadows, but also added saturation there. So when we do that glaze, it'll be pretty darn nice. Nice little miniature. Nice little finishing step, because I just looked at this like 5 minutes ago, like, I'll probably be done. And I was like, we got 15 minutes left. This is a perfect little finishing touch, because this is kind of like the identifying color of the warband is sort of this reddish thing. My reds are for orcs, so bright and borderline pink for highlights. That works for orcs, right? The bright, the wah red. I hope you get to go to PAX Unplugged this year, Hamster. If you do, I promise to take you to get you a real cheesesteak. I appreciate that. I'm not sure 100% if I'm going to PAX. If we do end up going to Adepticon, I'll probably be at that one because I'm kind of the main resident wargamer at the old Forge. So I'm not sure if I would go to both. Or is that the one that's in December? Because then maybe I could go there. Speed freaks red ones go faster. Isn't that actually a rule, or has been previously written as a rule, where if you paint your orc stuff red, it will go faster? The December one, okay, in Philly. Yeah, that'd be great. I know in previous years some DF people have just gone as guests, so if we don't go as DF, I mean, we're always kind of be rocking DF and conversation and everything. But if we just go as ourselves, even, I might end up going, but we'll see. Some versions. On my screen, it looks like a silk shirt because of contrast between light and dark. That is kind of neat. That is sort of why I'm also interested in doing some larger scale, where you can really get the textures to read, or like render out the textures, things like silk, or just the difference between a shirt and another layer, leather over a shirt, like, and really get those textures going as a contrast. I'm excited about that, because doing silk is hard. It's almost like non-metallic, right? But it's like not quite as reflective. So this, I guess this is kind of here on camera, right? Because the contrast is so high. So I get what you're saying. That is neat. I like that. Ah, where in Philly are you gonna get that cheesesteak? Is there some turf, some local spot that is sacred, Danny? DF has a booth according to Chris at PAX EU this year. Wouldn't surprise me. I'm not like I'm not 100% in the loop until it's like closer to happening, so you know, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm just not certain myself. Don't go to the touristy places? Sure. Silk has a very specific sheen. And just like sheer stuff in general is very interesting to paint. I know there's a great video by Vince Venturella about like painting sheer stuff on like the big what is the Chaos God Slanesh model, like the big giant hero with like the silk or sheer kind of leggings, tights sort of thing. It's a really interesting effect I'd like to master. And I have to practice some larger scale non-metallic to really, because I can fake it pretty okay on like small stuff, but I'd like to get a little more familiar with like how to do it somewhat accurately. Anyway, these are goals. These are goals. That is certainly much better than the red was previously. Looks kind of nice. I think that's pretty much good for what I wanted this mini to be. I dig it. Get some swatches. That's a good idea. I mean, reference is always good, right? It does depend on the light that you're trying to illustrate too, I suppose, right? So you want some like some kind of reference of the material in different lighting situations. But that's an interesting thought. Just kind of like walk into a shop and see if you can get any scraps or something. That's a good idea. Maxes or Campos? Some Philly experts here. I've only been to Philly once, and it was for the Eagles post Super Bowl parade in like 2017. And that was wild. That was wild. My girlfriend at the time was from the Philly area and wanted to go. Some raucous fans. They had literally applied Crisco, like lard grease, to the light poles to keep people from climbing them. Like the local government made an effort to do this, and then they still climbed them. It didn't even work. Like, what an odd, ridiculous thing to do, but then it also didn't work. Oh, what the heck. That's funny. All right, let's see. Let's wrap this up. I'm going to take a look at the calendar. It looks like On the Anvil is scheduled, but pay attention to the Discord to see if there's any changes. But it looks like there should be an On the Anvil. And Thursday, am I around? If so, I'm probably in this chair. Yeah, I don't got anything going on. So I will be here next Thursday for another hobby hang. Thank you for the suggestions on the red. I like this a lot. It's turned out good. But yeah, thank you for hanging with me. If you were painting along or hobbying somehow, some way, please post it in the Discord. Tag me at Mojo Hamster. I'll definitely see it then. I'd love to see what you're working on. And we will see you next time. Thank you much. Good night.